Excellent. Here we go. All right. So who is PIEFA? For those of you who don't know who we are, we're a Primary Industries Education Foundation Australia. We're a not-for-profit foundation founded to collaborate with government primary industries organisations in the education sector. And we develop and promote educational materials about food and fibre in Australia. We are supported by a number of research and development corporations and organisations across Australia to do what we do. And I see we've got Horde Innovation with us today, and New South Wales Farmers, who are wonderful supporters of what we do. And a number of associate members of PIEFA who also support what we do and work in the same space. PIEFA has a number of programs that we offer that allow us to provide support to teachers and educational organisations across Australia in food and fibre. One of the means in which we do this is the forum that's on today, and we're grateful for people to join us today. We have a number of online resources such as Primezone and Primezone Academy, which have a number of teaching resources. Primezone has approximately 650 to 700 resources about food and fibre across the curriculum from Foundation to Year 12. Primezone Academy is our online course platform with a number of online courses, and they're really well suited for this current situation with remote learning, where we have a number of lessons and courses which you can offer students, and they can do those remotely. And I'll talk a little bit more about that fairly soon. Farmer Time is our virtual farm tour experience, and it's also promoting careers in farming, fishing and forestry. Alison and Jane will be showcasing for us the Farmer Time program in Victoria, so they'll give you a bit more of an insight into what Farmer Time is about later on. And we also have Career Harvest, which is our main careers information and pathway portal, providing information about scholarships, courses and educational pathways. So that's careerharvest.com.au. So one of the interesting things about, well, the big question is about, well, why do students need to know about food and fibre? Why do they need to know about where their food comes from? And that's a question that I hear all the time. So we've done some research, and we interviewed over 1,000 students, and we asked them questions about their knowledge and understanding about primary industries and their knowledge about food and fibre industries. So I'm just showcasing one piece of data here that talks about student self-rated knowledge of those industries. And as we can see here, we find that those industries where students have a relationship with that particular food product, such as fruit and vegetables, dairy, eggs, livestock, and mining. Well, mining is in the news quite a lot, and poultry, wood products, and the like. There's a sliding scale in terms of the understanding, and we go down to the bottom, which interestingly, students noted that they were less likely to know, or indicated they have less knowledge about grains, oilseeds, aquaculture, cotton growing, cotton, rice and pig farming. And interesting in that fact, because I'd say most kids eat some form of bread every day or some sort of breakfast cereal. So that's really interesting from the point of view that there's that lack of knowledge. And so, you know, we see this as important data to think about, well, why is this so? And it gives us that initiative to look into, well, how do we improve the situation? And that's what we're trying to do with our work in PIEFA. So why is it important for science students to learn about food and fibre? And one of the issues that we face over time, there's less of a connection between rural and urban communities. And so that connection between where food comes from is becoming weaker. it's also important for kids to learn about making choices about what they eat. And the other thing too is that, as we know, the pandemic has shown us that the food industries, our primary industries, are so important to our living in Australia. So, and it highlights the fact that there's so many different careers in the primary industries. So there's so many opportunities which are out there and in many ways not being taken advantage of. From the research that we did in that project with our students, we discovered that 67% of students thought that denim was made from something other than the plant product, that 32% of students thought that pasta was made from something other than the plant product, and 30% of students thought that yogurt was made from something other than an animal product. So you're probably saying, well, you know, why is this so? And what are we doing about it? So I think there's some really big questions here, and they're just indicators of the situation, and just a small snapshot, because there are many other examples in this research, and the research report is available on our PIEFA website under reports for you to read the full report. But in that research, we also found that students didn't find that, or they found that those careers are less highly regarded. And one of the factors is that students perceive that jobs in agriculture and primary industries were poorly paid, poor working conditions, very long hours, and the whole perception there is about the stereotype of what is farming. Farmer on a tractor, old man on a John Deere tractor, ploughing up the land, a whole stereotype perspective there that prevails in the media and the like. But what we do know is that increasingly technology is forming an important part of farmers being efficient in the way that they grow their crops and their animals, raise their animals and produce their products. So there's more of a need for specialised labour. And the whole idea of STEM in the classroom, that there are lots of learning opportunities for science students in that STEM space using food and fibre examples. And really it should be called STEAM. We've got to add the agriculture in there. But STEM is increasingly an important part of the learning in schools, and obviously science fits in really neatly into that. So in terms of where does food and fibre fit into the curriculum? And this is a question that's always asked of teachers, and we do know that if a teacher is to integrate something along the lines of food and fibre, the question will be, well, where does it sit in the curriculum? And where is it in my programs? And there are lots of examples of where food and fibre fits into the Australian science curriculum. Now, I've only highlighted a couple of the elaborations here, and where they connect, but there are lots of other examples. One of the interesting one here for Year 4, Living Things Have Life Cycles, and I know that Alison's teaching that tomorrow or next week. Was that right, Alison?
Yes.
Yep.
Yesterday, Monday, Tuesday.
Yesterday. Okay. So and we also have there are so many ways in which we can use food and fibre examples in the curriculum. So it's very much about looking at beyond what teachers normally do. And there are teachers out there using food and fibre examples every day, which is amazing. Very much what this forum is about is to highlight all the other areas in which we can better integrate those examples in what we do. And so, there are very distinct ways in which we can integrate those ideas into the curriculum. What I'd like to do now is to highlight for you a couple of our online resources, which showcase some of the ways in which you can integrate the food and fibre concepts. So I'm just going to stop sharing here, and I will now share a different page for you. So right here, we are at the PIEFA National Science Week website. primezone.edu.au/science-week. Now, this website will be up for several weeks because in many ways, National Science Week is not just about this 1 week. At least we get the opportunity to showcase science resources, but we do believe that it's important that the legacy of what we do this week lingers on into the rest of the year and into the future. Now, the website here has a number of links to a number of resources. Now, one of the resources that we have here, and there's quite a few here that we have on this website, but I'm just going to showcase a couple of these. One of them is Phenomenon, which is from Hort Innovation, and it is our resource of the week. And I'm just going to click on here, and we're just going to have a quick look here at Phenomenon. And it's taken me to, and I'm not sure if you can see this page. It's probably taken me to, can everyone see Phenomenon?
Yeah.
Is it on the screen? I might just, how's that now? Can we see that?
Yes. Excellent.
Okay. So Phenomenon is an extraordinary website with lots and lots of resources. We have a range of resources and these wonderful webisodes with a range of videos around the theme and the wonderful program called the Good Mood Food theme, which I think is one of the most wonderful ways of thinking about food, especially in times of pandemic and lockdown. There are also nomcasts with really great information on food. That it's just an amazing array of resources, and also lots of videos and wonderful videos on the Hort Heroes with a number of producers and their stories, which is a wonderful way to get your students involved, especially in lockdown and the like. So if we just so it's not allowing me to go to the next page, but that's okay. There's a teacher guidebook, which has lots of information about, I'll just put that over here. That might work now. And a teacher guidebook all about Phenomenon with lots of teaching resources in there and a guide to assist teachers in planning for using Phenomenon. An immense amount of resources on there, and a really good way of getting your students involved in horticulture, food and fruit and vegetables. And I'll just go back a couple of steps here. So that's Phenomenon. That's our resource of the week. We've got lots of other links here, and in fact, if you haven't already gone to the website, but the Australian Science Teachers Association has a guide, Food Different by Design, which is a teacher book. So you can find that on scienceweek.net.au, and another amazing amount of resources there. So I've got resources from Meat and Livestock Australia, Wine Australia, Australian Eggs, cane growers as well, some great student resources, and we're working on some brand new resources as well with them. Here we've got another resource from Learn About Wool, and a number of other resources to do with soils, which I'm going to actually look at in a moment. Water resources, as well as Australian Pork Limited resources, and quite a few other resources here. So I'm going through them quickly because there's a lot to go through today. But as you can see, there's a range of different other resources here, as well as here's one here, Engaging Students in STEM Using Agriculture. This is a fantastic resource here. It's worth a look, and there's lots of really good short challenges, science challenges that students can engage in either at home or in the classroom in the laboratory. Really good resource here. So if you look up engaging students in STEM using agriculture, that's from UTAS, University of Tasmania, and the Tasmanian Agricultural Education Network, Tasmanian Institute of Agriculture. Fantastic resource there. And one more here, we've got Woolworths Fresh Food Kids Discovery Tours. Some really good resources here. This is a new resource and they're launching this next week. So worth a look at those resources as well. The Fresh Food Discovery Tour. And there it is there. So lots to see there. They've got some VR experiences and the range of things coming up in that space. I'm just going to showcase for you a couple of other things. I'm just going back a little bit here. If you go to our main page, which is primezone.edu.au, and you type in science into our search area, you will find you'll get over 13 pages of science-linked resources. So there's a lot to choose from there in terms of science resources that cut across every age group. So I can't showcase all of them today, but just be aware if you do type in science into our search engine area, you'll come up with all of these resources across all our industries. So the choices are limitless in many ways. I want to showcase one other thing. It's the Primezone Academy. Now, Primezone Academy is our online course platform that allows teachers to engage their students in formal lessons in a range of topics. Now, we've got some brand new ones here which target a range of different subjects. There's two brand new ones here with Hort, which we're very proud of. One here called Green Your Scene, which targets Year 8 science. And I'm just going to click on here and just show you very briefly what this looks like. So Green Your Scene was produced by PIEFA in collaboration with Hort Innovation. And just to showcase for you what these courses look like, basically what they are is a series of lessons, and they're self-paced. So there's a range of activities that students can engage in. The work is completed through a journal, which is a downloadable PowerPoint. And there's information for students and teachers on the main page. But just to showcase here, there's a range of activities, websites that students need to link to answer some questions, and we have quizzes. And the quizzes form part of the assessment, so students need to get at least 80% to move on. So there are assessment tasks and activities that students need to engage in, and activities like this one here. Use Google Maps to identify local community green spaces in your local area. Create a list of in your journal of the different parks and the like. So the idea behind these courses is that they are autonomous, so students can do these remotely while they're stuck at home doing remote learning, and teachers can keep an eye on them in terms of once students have completed all the requirements, the course produces a certificate to say they've completed it, and then students submit the journal to the teacher as evidence of the work they've done. Some of the other courses we have here are courses we've created with Grains Research and Development Corporation, a net quest on oilseeds, grains and pulses, sunflower stories, investigating and managing soils, grains paddock to plate, and cotton paddock to plate, and another soils activity. So that's Primezone Academy. And so I just wanted to give you a brief outline of that. So I'll just go back to the slide here. So so what I'd like to do now is introduce you to Alison Arnott and Jane Johns, who are working in Victoria on our Educating Kids to Farm program and collaborating with Victorian Farmers Federation. And Jane and Alison are going to provide you with a presentation of their work and further information on the resources they've developed, which are absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to hand it over to Jane and Alison.
Thanks, Luch. Thank you very much for having us today. I'm having a little bit of trouble with my internet at this end, so I hope it's not too glitchy at your end. But it's nice to have you all tuning in, and I appreciate the chance to share Jane and our experience with the program so far. So just a little background about Jane and I. We're both from primary production backgrounds. Our families own farms. Jane's is from Victoria and mine is from New South Wales. And Jane's been working in Metro Melbourne schools, teaching in primary school areas. And I've got an agricultural and biology background in high school science. So we've got a good perspective on the industry as far as teaching and agriculture goes. And we're both very passionate about what we're doing. So at the moment, the Kids to Farm programs are all being run a little bit differently per state. So our Victorian program is coordinated by PIEFA and VFF, the Victorian Farmers Federation. And there are 3 components to the program. We've created a program called Produce It, Protect It, and we are looking at enhancing and promoting food and fibre education across Victorian schools, and even further reaching that by creating resources, looking at literacy texts, designing experiments, looking at design thinking and prototypes within the classroom. And we're working with teachers and students and farmers, industry and our members to achieve all of that. Through the 3 aspects of our project, the first is run by the VFF, and they are running a Kids to Farm, Kids to Ag grant, where schools can apply for a grant to cover costs of going out on farms to run excursions. And Jane and I manage part 2 and part 3 of that program. And part 2 is Victorian Farmer Time. And if you haven't engaged with Farmer Time before, it was a program that was created by Tom Martin in the UK. It's coordinated by Leaf. And they run a model which allows a farmer to connect with a particular classroom in an ongoing way across the course of a year. We manage things and have run things slightly different to that. We've got a different model. And the way that we developed our model was we went into an amazing school down here called Woodley. They've got 2 campuses, and we created a farmer time experience where we designed a unit of work around what they currently were doing, not just tune in, listen to this farmer, and not relating it to their curriculum. So we worked with their 5-6 students, their prep, so kindergarten equivalent, and year 1 students. And we designed 3 units of work with 3 different farmers. And we ran the program with them. So we went in and presented incursions and experiences with those kids to watch it work, to see what we liked, to see if there were areas that we needed to work on before we kind of created our program, I guess. And what we quickly saw was that even in a really advanced school with great technology, a technology department, there were glitches in that, and we wanted to address it. There were issues with timetabling in a primary school. I've come from a high school background. You don't have that, tune into a 1 period or a couple of periods a week where you've got that certainty of having your class, and trying to work the farmer in with the teacher and getting the kids there so they're not on extracurricular or co-curriculars. It was all just a little bit, it had the potential to be messy across the state. So we've created a model which we hope is usable. It has 3 different systems. We are sticking with a live farmer time system, and tomorrow at 11 o'clock and 12 o'clock we are working with 2 farmers, and they'll project to the state and even further reaching. We've got Western Australian schools signing in as well. We'll have them talk to people about what they do, but we also facilitate one-on-one sessions as well. So a school will approach us, we'll find a farmer, we'll design questions around what the schools want, and we'll take that work away from the schools in doing that, and help them to provide a really personal experience with a farmer about what they need. But what we're focusing a lot of our attention on and what we think has the most potential at the moment are pre-recorded farmer time sessions. So Jane and I travel to farms within Victoria and we create a really specific experience on a farm, and we film footage of particular things. So we might visit a dairy and focus on technology. The next dairy might be about pasture and productivity and characteristics of the animals. And we're creating lessons and experiences around those. So we think that has great potential, and we've seen it because we are currently in lockdown 6 at the moment. And it's something that we've needed to be super flexible with farmer time to create a system where at the moment, projecting live farmer times into primary school kids' lounge rooms is something which schools, it's an unknown. So we need a system where schools feel confident that they can have this amazing farmer time experience and expose their kids to that, but in a safe way and a controlled way. And we're hoping that pre-recorded sessions will address it. And Jane will show you how that's working in a moment on our website. So there's lots of positives about the system. And look, we've been working for about a term so far. We've already reached 550 students. We've got 28 farmers on board and we're gaining momentum. So there's a lot of positives, even in a really, really tricky time in education in Victoria and across Australia, I guess. One thing we're also doing is we're working with Incursions. We've got 6 Incursions. We go out on site in schools. We take resources with us. We've got seed packs, we've got Fibre, we've got lots of different things to get kids hands-on, and it's been so popular. We've run a lot of Incursions. We've worked with over 1,100 kids just in one term, 66 teachers, and we've got 42 bookings for term 3 and 4. But again, we've had to postpone and reschedule because we obviously have kids at home during remote learning and we're not allowed on site, even when they do come back to school for a number of weeks after that. So it's a really challenging time. The Incursions are so popular and amazing to get out and actually teach the kids, but we have to be flexible. So what Jane and I have been doing this week on Monday and Tuesday, we spent our days delivering online Incursions to kids. So 30 to 40-minute experience. We teach, we are projected into the kids' studies areas at home, and the teachers are online, and we use resources around their homes, and we email them sheets that they need to use, and we read them stories, and we just try and expose the kids where we can. And the feedback's been amazing. It's not as good as going in class, obviously, but at the same time, we're delivering the program and the kids are finding it, I think, a break from what's been a really tricky time for them. We're also beginning to tape ourselves what we would be performing in class. We're videotaping ourselves, so it's professional development for the teachers to watch us in action. They can either show our taping to the kids in the class when they're back in school, or they can model what we're doing as well. So I think having alternative modes of what we're doing is working for us, and the feedback again seems to be pretty positive on that. We also have part of our project is to do with professional development. And again, we have to be pretty flexible with what we're doing. We were focusing on professional development within the classroom by modelling how to incorporate food and fibre. If we can't be in the classroom, we're doing that online. So we're concentrating on taping, and they'll come on Primezone Academy in the coming months as well. We do a lot of work with teachers. They will approach us either by email or phone call, and we analyse their curriculum and see if we can help them incorporate more experience, more hands-on. We send them out resource packs from our members, whether that's going to be grain packs or fleece and fibre and lots of different activities. We try and support them in that way. And we also field a lot of emails about specific resources and specific outcomes. So it's been amazing. Since February, we've worked with a lot of teachers, a lot of farmers, a lot of kids, but we've had to sort of do a lot of about turns as well. But that's sort of part of what is making it exciting, I guess. And it's just being adaptable to what's happening around everywhere, I guess, at the moment. So obviously we're focused on primary education, but we've got resources that Jane will work you through that can be adapted to a high school setting as well, either for differentiated learning or just applying and making it a bit more in depth. So I'll hand over to her and she will take you through some of the specifics of what we've actually been working on. Thanks, Jane.
Thank you, Ali. Hello, everyone. I'm Jane. So I'm going to give you a bit of a rundown of our website and show you some of the resources that we've got available online. And I'm also going to show you an example of one of our Vic Farmer Time sessions. So each of our Vic Farmer Time sessions is accompanied by a unit of work or a specific resource that's designed to incorporate different elements of the curriculum, including science, design and technologies, sometimes literacy, and sometimes maths. The one that we're about to watch is a pre-recorded session with farmer Danielle, all about egg production. Danielle is the Vice President of the VFF and is also an egg producer in Werribee. She pre-recorded this session for us to accompany our Features and Fun on the Farm unit, which is designed for students in F2. So I'll just show you her session now. Alrighty.
Hi everyone, my name's Danielle and welcome to my egg farm out in Werribee, South Victoria. It's nice to meet you all. So on our farm here, we have 25,000 white commercially producing birds called a Bayada white tint. They have stunning bright red cones, bright red beaks and white feathers, a little bit like a duck. So every morning and every night, it's mine and all the staff's here's job to make sure we go in the sheds and check every single bird. We look at their overall health, the temperature in the sheds, the colour of their cones, the state of their feathers, and water and food averages, and all of these indicate the overall health of our birds. Did you know it takes approximately 26 hours to produce one single egg? So it's not quite one a day. And in peak production, they produce somewhere between 5 to 6 a week. So that means on our farm, we roughly produce 150,000 eggs a week for consumption. So that way you get to go home and make a yummy meal out of your eggs. It was a pleasure talking to you all today, and I hope you have a great day at school. Thanks for having me, guys. Bye.
So prior to Danielle recording, we provided her with a series of prompts related to the biological science outcomes for students in years F to 2, and they predominantly center around the features and needs of living things and the way that living things grow and change over time and have offspring similar to themselves. So using those prompts, she then crafted her specific farmer time session around them, and then we were able to develop a unit of work that supported that. So I'm going to show you our website now, and this is the landing page for our site. Within our site, we've got a number of different features to support support teachers in incorporating food and fibre into their curriculum. So as you can see, we've got our upcoming events. As Ali mentioned, we've got our special live Vic Farmer Time events happening tomorrow. You can still book if you're interested in registering your class or just coming along to listen to Hannah and Christy Stewart speak about agroforestry and sheep production, and Mark Merritt speak about grains production. Now, again, as Ali mentioned, we have been very busy trying to adapt to what has been a very changing landscape. And so a lot of that has incorporated our need to develop remote learning resources. So we've tried to come up with a series of short, sharp activities that are hands-on and engage students in food and fibre within their home. These are generally themed based on, what's going on at the time. So we've got the Science Week one. A few weeks ago, we had a Food and Fibre Olympic Rings Challenge, which was really popular. And we had lots of different entrants from lots of different schools. It was phenomenal to see that students were really thinking about what food and fibre really means and, where that comes from or what it can look like within their day-to-day lives. If you would like to find out about our latest resources for remote learning, the best way to do that is to check out our Instagram and Facebook pages. The handles for both of those are @VicFarmerTime. All right, so I'll take you back now. So we've got a section that outlines all of our different services, which is accessible for teachers to download. But I think the thing that I would prefer to focus on for the time being would be our curriculum resources. So we've developed a series of unit plans, as I mentioned, and these are very accessible and adaptable depending on your student needs. So we'll have a look at the features and fun on the farm unit as that accompanies the Vic Farmer Time session that we've just watched. So within each of our unit pages, we've got a farmer profile, which gives an overview of the producer that will be presenting during the Vic Farmer Time session, along with the industry that they're discussing. So we recommend that teachers read this with their students prior to engaging in the session, just to give them a bit of like prior knowledge, I suppose. So they've got a bit of an understanding about what they're going to be hearing about. On that page, we've also got our video, so you can watch that there. And we've also got a section that allows teachers to provide us with feedback for these sessions, because obviously collecting data and getting an understanding of what's effective and what needs to be tweaked is really important. So teachers have got the opportunity to provide on-the-spot feedback for us there. Now we can scroll down, and our units of work are comprised of 3 sections. So we've got a unit overview, which gives you, obviously a brief summary of what the unit's about, but it also provides you with the outcomes that will be covered in that specific unit. As you can see, this one looks at a number of science outcomes, including the biological science outcomes of the features of living things and the needs of living things, and looks at the way that animals change and grow over time. It also looks obviously at the food and fibre outcomes, which come under the design and technologies curriculum in the Victorian and Australian curriculums. In each of our lessons, we try to incorporate hands-on activities, as Ali mentioned. So with lesson 1, I'll just show you, we obviously have a lesson here with the outline of each of the activities and step-by-step instructions for teachers. These also have hyperlinks to all of the different videos and resources needed. And then beneath that, we've got the specific worksheets and resources needed for each of those activities. So one that I think is fantastic and has been really popular within our incursions has been the kinesthetic learning activity, Where Did That Fibre Come From? And so with this activity, when Ali and I have presented it as an incursion, we have brought class sets of fibre samples in for the students to observe using their senses, and then try and match with the particular animal or plant that they think has produced that fibre, and then explore the different products that can be used, that can be made using those particular fibres. However, we are also able to send class sets of fibre samples out if we're not able to attend and present the incursion. So that just means that, students that may not have ever, felt fleece that was raw, or realised that cotton came from a cotton plant, now have the opportunity to see and feel and actively engage with those fibre samples, which is really exciting. I will just take you to our other F2 unit, which is called Food and Fibre All Year Round. And the Food and Fibre All Year Round unit looks at the seasonality on farms and the way that that impacts living things on farms. So again, exploring those science outcomes of seasons and seasonal changes, and also living things and the way that they change and grow. So within that, again, we've got our farmer bio, we've got our live Vic Farmer, that one actually was a live Vic Farmer Time session that we recorded whilst we were at an incursion, running an incursion down at Woodley. And then we've got, again, our unit overview. We've also got a link to our incursion for each of those programs. So we offer them as an incursion, as well as teachers having the capacity to download them and facilitate them of their own accord. Again, just speaking with regard to feedback, we offer teachers the opportunity to provide us feedback in any of the programs that we deliver, just so that we are able to constantly tweak and modify and ensure that we are best meeting the needs of teachers. Alrighty. Now, as myself and Ellie have both mentioned thus far, we're clearly very excited about tomorrow. We do have an upcoming live Science Week event centered around both agroforestry and sheep production, and about grains production, which is designed for Year 3-4 students. I would really like to highlight the agroforestry and sheep production session, particularly because we've got a fantastic science-based unit called Sustainable Solutions on Farms, which is designed for Year 5 and 6 students. So this unit of work was designed around 2 producers, Hannah and Christy Stewart from Yan Yan Gert West Farm, who, as I said, live and work on an agroforestry and sheep farm in Deans Marsh, Victoria. So within this unit of work, students have got the opportunity to explore biodiversity, adaptations and sustainability, and then look at the ways that agroforestry and sheep are interdependent on Yan Yan Gert West Farm and what that means for promoting biodiversity and regenerating the landscape within that farm. So as a part of this lesson, students have the opportunity to design a superorganism which addresses an environmental concern on a farm and is also, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to find the adaptations, create a superorganism. There we go. Sorry. Yes, to address an environmental concern and to, I'm taking you on a journey here, aren't I? And to meet an economic demand. So it has to produce a different kind of food or fibre, and it must meet some kind of environmental concern on farm. So this provides students with the opportunity to explore what adaptations are, why they're important, and how plants and animals are being adapted or modified to address specific concerns within agriculture and to meet the growing demand for food and fibre. Alrighty, that is just about it for me. I will now pass back over to Luciano, who will open up to questions. But should you wish to explore our website or register your class for our live Vic Farmer Time sessions tomorrow, I will pop the links to both of those in the chat. Thank you.
Thanks, Jane. Thanks, Ali. Wow, there's as you can see, there's been a lot of work happening in Victoria, and some really amazing resources being developed to get students interested in understanding where their food comes from, but and connecting with understanding agricultural industries in general. Jane's just put a link to the Produce It Protected website in the chat area, so that you can have a further look, and you can book to join the session tomorrow. Is that right, Jane? Yep. So it's not too late to join the excitement. But I think some of the really good things about what Jane and Alison presented was that it's a really integrated process, in that I think it's Farmer Time is more than just a one-off activity that you engage students in a virtual farm tour for a short period of time. What you can see from what they produced, it's a really integrated process, that it's a number of activities to build that knowledge, understanding and interest, which I think is really essential when it comes to developing these sort of programs. And I think that's a wonderful part of the process here, that it is about building legacy, that whatever we do in terms of all of our activities, that it's not a one-off, it's something that will perpetuate into the future, and that's the purpose of these sort of forums, as well as National Science Week. It's trying to get that message out, that knowledge and understanding can perpetuate into the future. So big thanks to Ali and Jane for all their work. We've got a little bit of time here. If anyone has any questions of any of us in terms of what we presented today, or any other comments to make.
Luke, I just wanted to, so it's Cameron here, I just wanted to congratulate Alison and Jane on a great presentation. That's fantastic, it's very inspiring, and it's wonderful to see. Just imagine if there wasn't any COVID, just imagine what you could have done. But anyway, I think it's magnificent. It's some of our dreams coming true. So congratulations, and keep up the great work despite COVID. And perhaps COVID's helped in some ways, but I wouldn't like to give COVID that credit. But anyway, I think you're the ones that did it. So congratulations. So Thanks very much.
Thanks, Cameron.
Thanks,
Thank
Cameron. Anyone else have any comments or even to reflect on National Science Week and your experiences of food and fibre education? Because I know there's a few people on the call today who have really thought about this space and are working really hard within their organisations and in their work to really engage in food and fibre.
Cameron again, I think one of the issues is that science and it's sort of been not taken over, but it's become all part of the STEM area. And to me, STEM's the poor relation in STEM has been biology, and agriculture is about food and fibre production is about applied biology. And STEM seems to be taken over, in my view, and watching it for many years, is being taken over by technology and sort of anything that gets biology out of the system and controls the environment so that you can get on and do things without being worried about what's happening around you. And our food and fibre production is something where you try to reduce the variability in the environment to get continuity of production and all those things. But I think where we found ourselves with STEM is that, to me, biological sciences, hence agriculture, become a poor relation, but it's only a view from the outside. So all this work you're doing is really important, and we're just so fortunate National Science Week this year is on food and fibre. So we have to make the most of it, because it's just an opening we won't get for another time, and it's just great to have some really positive things to go in there for discussions in National Science Week about food and fibre production. So it's really, really good and fortuitous that what we're doing. And I've got no criticism of STEM. I'm just saying that's how it's spun out, because there's so much progress happening in the digital era and technology, and that obviously impacts on what happens. Thanks, Luch.
Thanks, Cameron. Great comments there. Alison.
I think what Cameron's saying is true of what Jane and I are seeing in some of the classrooms that we're stepping into, is that some of the primary school staff are more confident with the technology and the robotics and the coding kind of science, that aspect, but when we're going in and doing experiments with plants, there's a degree of, oh, we haven't tried this before, and that's really hands-on, and the kids love it. So I definitely support what you're saying. I think that there's sort of been a switch, and the hands-on science and experimental side has possibly not been trialled as much as what it used to be, certainly when I was teaching in different schools.
Yeah, that's a great point there, and I think we do find a number of teachers find it difficult to integrate those elements of food or elaborating the ideas of food and fibre from a science point of view. And the feedback I get from some teachers is that it's risky, it's too complicated, requires a lot of organisation. We tried it before, we grew vegetables, but the rabbits ate them, or the fox killed the chooks, and so it left them with a bad feeling about food production. And so yes, we're sort of up against those sort of issues, but also what Alison and Cameron said, that we've got elements of STEM, but there's not a real integration of those hands-on activities like food production and the like that could be there with, there's lots of opportunities for that. So hi, Sarah.
Hello, Luch. Hello, everybody. I'm Sarah. I'm one of the non-executive directors on the PIEFA board, and I'm very excited to see the work you've been doing. I'm excited on a number of fronts, just because I've had the passion for bringing a food and fibre context across curriculum learning from a production point of view, because that's where I've been. But I'm also have been in my past life a paediatric occupational therapist with children with learning difficulties working in classrooms, and to see the kinesthetic learning And my belief that these contexts provide an applied capacity. So because it's real life context that they're learning with. And in my practice, having seen the effect of that, I think there's just a wonderful almost duopoly of what's happening in terms of being able to use food and fibre context to introduce where food and fibre comes from. But I think also to bring learning, just that value of learning using real context. So well done. And I was delighted to be able to come in and see what you're doing.
Thanks, Sarah. It's great to have you along today. That's great. Thank you. Anyone else have any comments or any thoughts about this journey of getting our young people into better understanding food and those connections?
I think the the ecology of the COVID virus, whether it be Alpha or Delta, and the concepts of ecology and evolutionary biology is a great lesson to us all in terms of whether you're looking at a weed becoming resistant to Roundup or a drench becoming resistant, worms becoming resistant to drenches. And once we start dabbling around in the ecological processes, all sorts of things can happen. And I think we're learning a lot about the ecology of this virus at the moment. We started off saying everyone should wash your hands, but we don't hear much about that now because we've learned that basically through the air. So this whole concept of ecology, biology, environment, food and fibre production, it's all in the same. There's a whole lot of principles in there which can be applied. So I think I urge you all to think about how the COVID experience, which we're seeing happening all around us and it's impacting everyone, is really a biological situation. And from time to time, we've just thought technology would protect us from all that. We don't need to worry about things because technology will fix it. So hopefully it will. Hopefully science will help us out here. But I just think there's a lot of learning in there, especially when it comes to food and fibre production. So it might take the thinking of the community, of governments and things back closer to our biological processes, which we're so dependent upon. So what you're doing is all part of that. So I commend you. But I've said enough. That's enough for me. But I just reflect upon where we're at the moment. And one has to take what's out there in the current discussions to try to apply that in our teaching and whatever. So I'm sure you do it. Thanks.
Thanks, Cameron. That's wonderful. Well, I think we're just about to come to the end of the forum today. Today's forum has been recorded, and we will be able to share this with individuals who are unable to come in to spend time with us today. And I'm just seeing some comments here in the comment area here. That's a great comment there from Shona. So it's all about making it easier for teachers, but this is largely taking them out of their comfort zone. The more confident we can make teachers with this content, the more likely it will happen. Primezone and other resources certainly helping. And Stuart, great to see the importance of primary production rising during COVID. And I think that's a really important point as well, because COVID's demonstrated how important our food supply chains are, and the need for and I guess the fortunate situation where we are able to produce a lot of our own food, but also it's highlighted the importance of our agricultural primary industries in Australia, and it really highlights the fact that food is so important. And there's so many opportunities out there for our young people to get involved. So that's a great point there. I'd just like to say thank you all for joining us today. I'd also like to thank our member organisations, and thanks for Horde Innovations for joining us today. And also, I know that our other member organisations fully support what we're doing in the forum and everything that we engage in general. And it's a wonderful opportunity and a challenging time that we live in, but we're afforded this opportunity to share what we have this week in National Science Week. And of course, this dialogue will continue into the future, and we have all these resources available at our fingertips. We also I'd like to thank Jane and Alison for their fantastic work in Victoria, their amazing presentation today. And we also want to thank the Victorian Farmers Federation for their support of the project, but also the Department of Agriculture, Water and Environment for their funding of these Educating Kids to Farm programs in each state. And there's some amazing work going on across Australia in this situation with this program. But thanks everyone for joining us today, and hopefully you've learnt something new and can take something away with you today about how to integrate food into your classroom. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.